Well, hey y'all. Some of you may be wondering why I always start off Bethie Bible devotions with this picture ever since I saw it. And that's because this picture, which is by a fashion photographer, Michael Belk, who took on taking photography that he depicted the parables of Jesus. And I think this particular book was called The Journeys. Let me grab the book. Hold on. So you guys can see what the book is. And it's this. Journeys with the Messiah, the Parable Edition. A fashion photographer explores the modern day relevance of Jesus. And the whole book is his thoughts, which I really enjoy, and his photography. And this particular one is because this is like me and you who really enjoy fashion. And she has on expensive glasses and suit and shoes and handbags and purchases. And it's not that that's wrong. The look on Jesus' face, or the actor that's depicting him in the background, is one of disappointment. And it's because in that she is ignoring the needs of those children who are begging her. That's what's wrong with it. It's not that she has it, but that she, in her own abundance and self-indulgence, she has forgotten to take care of others. And so just as we enjoy makeup and hair and handbags and fashion, it just really struck me that we shouldn't ignore the needs of others and also our relationship with Him. So just that's something to take into account, and that's why when I start these off, I always start with that picture. So, now, I also have to give a disclaimer. It's not a typical YouTube disclaimer at all, because I don't know anybody else who's doing this in the makeup end. But I just want to say, I hope I do this right. I've prayed, I've been in Bible study, but I'm not like a professional preacher or teacher of any way. So I ask that you also pray before you even listen to this, that you'll just stop the video, put it on pause, and pray and say, God, what do you want me to get out of this? Not what does Beth have to say? What do you have to say, and what can I get out of this? Because that's why I'm doing this for you guys. It's partly for you, it's partly for me, because, you know, so goes the teacher. I don't know what little saying I was going to say, but basically when you teach, you also learn. And that's what I was trying to say. I'm not trying to sound fancy. That's what I meant. So, I'm going to be learning with you. And in one of my Bible studies that I had tonight with my life group, some of the subject matter came up, and I wrote a lot of it down because I just felt, I had 3 other Bible studies, but I just feel like this is the one I'm supposed to give y'all tonight. So, I hope it comes across in the way the Lord wants it to. So, put me on hold, say a prayer if you want to get yourself a cup of coffee or tea or whatever you do. If you don't have to have a beverage, y'all. I just always like to have something. And here we go. All right. So what am I going to talk to y'all about tonight? And please just try to ignore that I am looking at some notes, because I am not a professional. I felt like everybody could relate to a particular subject, and that is suffering. Nobody likes it. I don't like it. I don't know anybody who'd like it. Jesus didn't like it. And we'll talk about that too. But we talked tonight about the fact that hardships and trials are really important. It's another word for suffering. There's temptations, and that's a different thing altogether, and we'll talk about that too. Because different things are proven out of overcoming a temptation versus coming through a trial or a hardship. There's nothing wrong in you for going through a hardship or a trial, and there's nothing wrong in you for being tempted. It's how we respond to it all. As Jesus was tempted. And he certainly had the most horrific hardship and trial of ever, which was to physically, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, and every other way take on the sins of the world. So we can't even relate to that. Thank God for that. But anyway, hardships and trials have a way of separating the genuine from the counterfeit, if you will. The real Christian from someone who's just talking it. And I know I'm getting in somebody's business tonight, and it got in my business too. So don't think I'm judging. I'm trying to share something with you. If you just be patient in the way that I may not say it fast enough or eloquent enough. But you know, in high school when there was like, or go higher into college, and if you didn't go to college, go to high school. There's that course that you have to take to pass high school. Or maybe there's a course in college that you have to take to get your degree. Let's say for a surgeon, you have to be able to pass anatomy or biology or something. I don't know. And it's not an elective course. You have to take it in order to be an expert at that, or to consider yourself graduated. It's a certain victory, if you will, an accomplishment, if you will. And we also know that in engineering and in the building of things, that they have to do stress tests on things to determine whether or not it can be trusted to hold up. And we're glad for that, right? So I know you're seeing the analogy here, and that's why I'm using those kind of examples that I can relate to. I hope it'll help you to relate. That there's a difference in the people who sign up and the people who show up. Like, have you ever been in charge of a group, like say a Bible study or a little club, where you have people come over and play bunco or play cards or play games, or, you know, it's just a little social group where you just get together, have some snacks, but kind of the success of it is if people are going to show up. And there's 10 people who say they'll come, but only 5 actually come. And that draws the line in the sand of who's serious about it, right? Like, who's going to say they're coming and who's actually going to come. So this is the first counterfeit that I wanted to talk about, in those things that are decided between whether it's genuine or counterfeit. And the first counterfeit is the counterfeit of good intentions, is those people who say they will, but they don't. And those people who say they might, but they show up. And there's an example of that in the Bible in Matthew 21:28 through 32. So, by the way, if you ever want to throw me on hold, go get your Bible, or if you want to get a pen and pad and write this down so you don't have to look it up right now, but you want to look it up later and just kind of ponder it and pray about it in your own private alone time. And I would encourage you to do that, because you'll say you'll do it, but you never will, right? I know I do. So it's better just go ahead and write it down, or you can put me on hold and go get something and do it right now. Get the Bible and a pad and pen and do it right now. But I'll go ahead and do it. And I hope I'm prepared enough, by the way, you guys. I'm trying to be. But, okay, so it's Matthew 21. So let me turn to Matthew. Thought I had it marked. I had the other ones marked. I don't have enough little markers. That's okay. I can find Matthew pretty quick. I say that. 21:28. Okay. And this is the story of some sons. Let me see what it's called. The parable of the 2 sons. And in short, what it's talking about is that there's a man and he has 2 sons, and he asks them both to go and work in the vineyard. And one says, well, I'll go. And the other one says, I'm not going. And in the end of the story, the one that said he would go didn't go. But the one that said he didn't want to go changes his mind and he goes. And Jesus says, which one of the 2 sons actually did the Father's will? And obviously, it's the second one that actually did it. The first talked about it and he seemed all for it, but he didn't actually do it. The second one wasn't quite sure about it, and he's saying he's not going to do it, but he actually did. And it's doing the will of the Father that mattered, not just talking about it. So again, there's one of those counterfeits of good intentions. The second counterfeit is of high moral standards. And there's a lot of people that do this, you guys. And a lot of Christians say this. And it's like, if you're a Christian, why would you say that? And they say, well, you know, I'm a good person. Okay, you'll never figure out what the standard of being a good person is, because everybody's would be different. So you just have to take the standard of good that God has, which is himself, which is pure and perfect holiness. And all of us fall short of that. So none of us are ever going to be that good. So just saying I'm a good person isn't enough. And also in 2 Corinthians 11:14, this struck me pretty funky, because I think I've read it before, but I didn't ever really capture what it says. And I'm going to read this one. 2 Corinthians 11:14. I'm going to start in 13. For such men are false apostles, deceitful workmen, masquerading as apostles of Christ. And no wonder. For Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. Now, I've heard that one, but keep reading. It says, it is not surprising then if his servants masquerade as servants of righteousness. Do you get that? They masquerade as someone who has good moral standards, rightness with God, but they're masquerading. Their end will be what their actions deserve. What? That they're pretending to be good, but they're not good. And he's equating that with Satan himself. So it's like, whoa, I've never noticed the second part of that group of scriptures. I've heard that Satan masquerades as an angel of light before because he's trying to imitate God because he wants to be God so bad. But I never thought about the fact that those who follow him masquerade as being righteous. Oh, that's something to think through. Okay, and then the last counterfeit is a fast starting. And I'm sure some of you, if you've read the Bible, have heard the parable of the sower and the seed. And even if maybe you aren't a Christian and you're listening to this, you're like, well, actually, I've heard of that parable. You know, there's a couple of seeds and they fall on different paths. And depending on how the seed, went, different things happen. Just so if you want to look it up, it's Matthew 13, 1 through 23. So let's go back to, did I have that one marked? No. I don't mark Matthew, but I guess because it's so easy to find. It's the first book of the New Testament. But it's Matthew 13. Sorry, y'all. I should have had little markers stuck in here. 13, 1 through 23. Now I'm not going to read it because it's long, and it talks about the parable that falls on the path and the birds get it up. That's for people who first hear the word of God, and Satan comes along and just takes it, and it doesn't ever get anywhere with them. They don't even listen. And then there's two other kinds: ones that fall on rocky soil, and those that fall upon thorns. And both of them did